Air pollution continues to be a daunting challenge across the world, but a new report points to China as an important beacon of progress. According to a latest report published by Chicago University, particulate pollution in China has declined by 40% since 2013, when the Chinese government declared a war against pollution, while it took several decades for the US and Europe to achieve the same reductions. The drop has also added 2 years onto the average life expectancy in China. What enabled China to make its air cleaner while also growing its economy? What still needs to be tackled? Earlier, I spoke to the curator of the report, Professor Michael Greenstone, director of the Energy Policy Institute at the University of Chicago. He previously served as the chief economist for President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors. So, Professor Greenstone, thank you very much for joining us. Straight away, help us understand more about the latest Air Quality Life Index report that you have produced. There are a lot of pollution reports out there, but this one looks different because it links air quality with life expectancy. Its impact on the number of years that people can live. So what kind of model did your team use to come up with such a conclusion?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So the model actually was born of some research. I was very frustrated by the AQI and other air quality indices because I could never remember, is brown better than purple, is better than orange, is worse than blue. And it never was unclear. It was always unclear to me what it meant for my life. And so I conducted a series of studies that related long-term air pollution exposure to life expectancy. And then I took the results from those studies and used them to create this air quality life index. And it provides a measure for what would happen anywhere in the world if air pollution there were improved to any levels, and could be the country's own level, standard, or the WHO standard.
So how long have you been using this model to track the impact of air quality on life expectancy?
So I think we've been using it for about 5 years. And the striking finding that comes from it is that the average person on the planet is losing about 2 years of life expectancy to air quality relative to if they lived with air pollution concentrations at the World Health Organization standard. And that 2 years of life expectancy is more than the average person loses from alcoholism or smoking cigarettes or terrorism or war or anything like that. So I think of it as the greatest external threat to human well-being on the planet that exists currently.
Is this trend aggravating? Is this trend being alleviated because of efforts of major countries, for instance? And also help us understand the latest findings about China in specifics, please.
Yeah, so what's very striking is if you took China out and just looked at the rest of the world, there probably in the last year would have been a slight increase in air pollution. That is a worsening well-being. But all of the decline that has happened in the world has really taken place in China. And all of that improvement is started and kind of followed pretty directly from when the premier, or China itself, declared a war on pollution in 2013. And since then, there's been a 40% improvement in air pollution in China, and it's striking. No matter what way you look at the data, it's really an amazing reduction in air pollution in a kind of unprecedentedly short period of time.
The report also says, due to improvements made to the air quality that you just mentioned, the average Chinese person can expect to live 2 years longer. I mean, that is quite remarkable. So how did you come up with this figure? How did you calculate, given the size, the diversity of it, and its air quality versus life expectancy? How did you make the link?
So first, let me just clarify. The 2 years means if air pollution, which has come down, stayed at the levels it is permanently relative to permanently staying at the higher levels, then people would live 2 years longer on average. And it comes from a natural experiment where one set of people were exposed to very high levels of air pollution for their whole lives, and another to lower levels of air pollution. And what you see is in the places where people have higher levels of air pollution, you see elevated rates of mortality, not just among the young and the old, but at all age categories. And it's almost all concentrated in cardiorespiratory causes of death, which are plausibly related to air pollution. So there's a very tight link, and what the improvements in China, as you said, have increased life expectancy by about 2 years. But I just want to unpack that. Like 2 years is a number. Underneath that number are like kids dying too young, people being sick, older people dying prematurely, and just a lot of harm and a lot of hardship, really.
Right.
And so 2 years is appealing because it's easy to say, but these are real lives of real people, and reductions in air pollution allow people to lead much richer, fuller lives.
So basically, you're saying if the air quality in China would have been the same since 2013, for instance, or even gone worse, the Chinese average life expectancy would have been reduced by 2 years. Is that what you're saying?
Relative to the current levels, yes.
And considering the size of the Chinese population, 1.4 billion, so that is actually, quite a bit of an effort. If you have 1.4 billion people each expecting to live 2 years longer than they would have, that is quite remarkable. I mean, how reliable? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's hard to come up with a policy that has larger benefits. Just as you said, the Chinese population is so large, and these gains in life expectancy are quite large.
It's really quite incredible. I mean, we know the Chinese government did a lot. We know the Chinese people also gave up a lot. For instance, we can't do barbecue in open spaces in Beijing, for instance. So we kind of just, got rid of that yearning, if you know what I mean. But still,
and the winter heating policy, I think, has changed dramatically as well. Right?
Yeah, tremendously. And the transition has not been an easy one, because you have to break away your old habits and adopt a new way of heating up your home, which might not be so economically affordable either. But do you have additional materials or other sources which might validate or verify this result? I mean, are you the only one coming up with this research?
No. So that's a terrific question. So this is based on a series of papers that I published. They were published in a leading the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, both of them in 2013 and 2017. And they were peer reviewed at the highest levels. The numbers are a little different than some other studies, but they tell roughly the same story. A key difference between this work and most of the other work out there is that my research took the setting actually was China, where there were very high levels of air pollution, and so. That I think it is easier to, it does not require extrapolation, because it doesn't require going from what happens when you reduce air pollution at already low levels to lower levels. It really examined what happens at high levels of air pollution when you get a reduction. And I think also the fact that it was based on studies in China gives it further credibility to the Chinese context.
Still, to reduce in the time span of 7 years air pollution, or the PM 2.5 index, by 40% in 7 years' time, for a country that is China, it's still quite remarkable, right? I mean, for the world to imagine. The report says that China achieved this same goal in 7 years, whereas other countries such as the United States needed 30 years or something like that? Help us understand why the difference.
It's worth stopping and taking note of that. this 40% reduction, which was albeit from a higher level than when the United States started its efforts to reduce air pollution, was achieved in 7 years without no recessions. And in contrast, in the United States and Europe, it took several decades for them to achieve comparable reductions in air pollution. And it's a testament to the seriousness with which the Chinese government approached the problem.
According to the data from the city of Beijing, the PM 2.5 density dropped by 50% from 2016 to 2021. Did you look at the numbers for specific cities in your report, for instance, because these are significant part? There are places in China which has, beautiful air, not so much of a problem of air pollution, but of course the industrialization level is much lower. So how important are these cities in the overall national efforts?
Yeah, so the JJJ region was obviously a big focus of the Chinese government, and some of the largest reductions occurred there. In the report, I believe we created a table of the top 50 places by population and just ranked and showed how large the reductions were in each one. In some places it was larger than others, but on average it was about 40%. As you said, Beijing and the JJJ region more broadly were a target area, and so it's not surprising the reductions were larger there.
Right, and that also involved a huge will, right, an extremely strong will to sacrifice the economy, sacrifice jobs. For instance, the steel factories in the outskirts of Beijing completely relocated, and we actually saw the sites being used for Winter Olympics, right, as the background. That is probably a very good example. So how do you look at China's contribution then to the global efforts to fight pollution, air pollution? China reducing by 40%. So on a global level, what does that translate to?
China accounts for almost all of the reduction globally in this period. I think the important thing to remember about particulates pollution is it's primarily a local pollutant, though. So, and every country is going to make different trade-offs between economic growth and improvements in air quality. What the AQLI really is useful for underscoring is even if there are costs, it's costly to move the steel plants, it's costly not to be able to do barbecue with your friends, it's costly to have more expensive winter heating. Even if there are those costs, there are very tangible and important benefits. And so what I really intended the AQLI for is a way to quantify the benefits so that they weren't diffuse, they were very concrete and could be contrasted readily with the costs.
Mm-hmm. Can China's experience be emulated, by other countries who are looking to reduce their air quality pollutants?
I think China can be a model for a lot of other countries in the world. And when you look around the world and you see the satellite imagery of where the particulate matter is, a lot of it's in Asia, some in sub-Saharan Africa, but a lot of it's in Asia. And I think, if you go back in time 7 or 8 years, I don't think anyone could have imagined or would have imagined that the improvements in China would have been so rapid. And in that regard, I think it is a message to the rest of the world, like this is achievable. And it's not an endemic problem that has to be.
Thank you so much, Professor Greenstone. Keep up your good work, and let's see in the next 5 years whether we can come back and talk about still more reduction in air pollutants in China.
I look forward to it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.